Let's begin by telling you that the student community at Ekosodin, Edo State, was thrown into panic on Saturday morning when a story building on Ekato Street, Benin, the state capital, collapsed during the early morning downpour in the state. Ekosodin borders the University of Benin and has a huge student population, as those who cannot get accommodation in the school opt to live in the area. Some of the trapped students have been rescued, while the search for others continues. One of the students at the scene said that a university rescue team managed to evacuate some of the trapped occupants, though several were severely injured. And now to security matters. President Bola Tinubu received with relief the news of the strings of successful operations against security threats in the northwest by troops of the Nigerian military. He said the success of the operations gives further assurance that the country's security operatives are up to the task of. Now, Delta State Governor Sheriff Oborewori has dismissed his senior special assistant on special duties, Eriteyan Eradajai, with immediate effect. Eradajai, who also served as the chairman of the Adadbrasa Ugolo community of the local government area of the state, was removed from his position following accusations of involvement in the murder of one Sam Akemo over a land-related dispute in the community. The conflict allegedly escalated, leading to Eradajai's loyalists reportedly beating and stabbing Akemo, resulting in his death. In a statement on Thursday, Secretary to the State Government, Kingsley Emo, confirmed Eradajai's dismissal. Meanwhile, the State Commissioner of Police, Olufemi Abanumonda, has ordered the arrest of the former aide in connection with the murder of Sam Akemo.
Now, we are still looking for the community chairman who is presently at large. The Commissioner of Police Delta State, the person of CP Olufemi Abanumonda, is assuring members of the public that in this case, justice must be served. He has mandated the DPO to go all out to ensure that the fleeing suspect is arrested and the case properly investigated, cause of the fight unraveled, and whoever is guilty will be brought to justice.
To politics, let's tell you that the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has declared he has no regrets for threatening action against any PDP-controlled state that undermines his authority. Addressing journalists, Wike promised never to support his successor, Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara, following escalating tensions between them. The rift intensified after the PDP National Working Committee handed control of the party structures in Rivers State to Wike, a move that sparked outrage within Fubara's camp. Wike criticized PDP governors for backing Fubara, accusing them of disregarding legal processes. While defending his strong rhetoric, Wike clarified that his comments were figurative, asserting that he would not tolerate interference in Rivers' political affairs. He added that he would not stand by while others attempt to undermine him. Now, some residents in Edo State have tasked the police to be neutral and fair in its efforts to maintain law and order during the build-up to the state governorship election. The group, during a peaceful walk to the State Police Command, sympathized with the police over the death of its personnel when the state's Deputy Governor, Philip Shaibu, was attacked by hoodlums following his reinstatement by the Court of Appeal in Abuja. They urged the police to shun being used by the political class so as not to mar the credibility of the upcoming poll.
We are not saying police should not arrest they that will commit crime, those that have committed crime, should not use that avenue to help some political bigwigs to begin to intimidate, harass, and dampen the morals of common and people that want to cast their votes. The politics is already very, very high, heating up. There's a lot of apprehension in the street. We are in the street. That's why we are speaking to you, sir.
And I want to assure you and reassure you that we are neutral.
Thank you, sir.
Nigeria Police, other security agencies, we are neutral. And we are going to make sure that the election is conducted in a very peaceful environment.
Now to the oil sector. Oil marketers have confirmed they will start loading petrol from the Dangote refinery next week, with some sending trucks to the plant as early as Sunday. Others expect imported petrol before month's end. This comes despite presidents of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, who has said only the NNPCL would lift PMS from the refinery for now. Marketers say they are gearing up for a price of around 1,200 naira per litre, even from depots, as they import products to stimulate competition. You will recall that the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Heineken Lokpobiri, had declared the downstream oil sector fully deregulated, saying the government is no longer fixing petroleum product prices. With petrol availability, prices are expected to find their level, and marketers are preparing for a competitive market. Meanwhile, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited will be the sole buyer of premium motor spirits from the Dangote refinery. This was disclosed by the Finance Minister, Wale Edun, during a press briefing in Abuja. According to the minister, marketers interested in purchasing PMS will have to source it through NNPCL's trading arm. It's now time for a break. When we return, we tell you that the Nigerian government warns of imminent overflow of rivers, Niger and Benue, plus updates on the flood situation in Borno State. To join us again. Talking about floods that has ravaged some parts of the country, the Nigerian government has issued a warning about the potential overflow of the Niger and Benue rivers as the country grapples with the aftermath of recent flooding in Maiduguri, Borno State. Minister of Water Resources, Professor Joseph Utsev, sounded the alarm during a press briefing in Abuja, urging southern regions to brace for possible floods. The overflow of the Alau Dam, driven by the Ngada River, caused severe flooding in Maiduguri and Jede. According to the 2024 annual flood outlook, 31 states are identified as high risk, including Borno, Bauchi, and Benue. A team of experts is currently assessing the damage at Alau Dam, with recommendations expected soon. The government is calling for increased vigilance to prevent further disasters. And now to this update about the flood situation in Borno State. The Nigerian government has attributed the recent flooding in Borno State to climate change and prolonged heavy rainfall, dispelling earlier reports that linked the disaster to the collapse of Alau Dam. Water Resources Minister Professor Joseph Utsev clarified that Borno is one of 31 high-risk states identified for potential flooding earlier this year. According to the National Emergency Management Agency, the floods have claimed over 30 lives and displaced 400 people since Tuesday. Professor Utsev also announced plans to upgrade the Alau Dam, which was built in 1986, to prevent future disasters, warning that any delays or substandard work on the project will face sanctions. The dam, with a capacity of 112 million cubic meters, supplies water for irrigation and domestic use in Maiduguri. Meanwhile, the Borno State Police Command has confirmed the recovery of 11 bodies following recent floods in various parts of the state. In a statement, the supervising police public relations officer for the Northeast, Ahmed Wakil, said joint efforts led by CP Yusufu Mohammed Lawal have been addressing the flood disaster in Maiduguri. However, 11 decomposed bodies were found during rescue operations, which are still ongoing. The drowned bodies were recovered in areas including Lamisula, Jere, GRA, Bulabulin, and Dandal between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. local time between September 11 and 12, 2024. Earlier, Northeast Zonal Coordinator, National Emergency Management Agency, Sirajo Abdullah, was on the news to give us more updates.
Today it's improving because the water has been receding. If you can see my background right now, I'm at the College of Agric and 505 axis. This is the last point where you can reach. because there are boats down there, and you can see thousands of people coming in.
Okay.
They're actually trooping in. We have a point where the boats can't go beyond. There are other stakeholders, the Nigerian Army. We also have the Borno State government, and a lot of partners here doing the evacuation, NEMA inclusive. So they are bringing people out, and at the camps, we also have profiling ongoing at the designated camps by the Borno State government, where wet feeding is ongoing, profile and
Away from flood stories to this education-related story, the Nigerian government has increased fees for unity schools from 45,000 naira to 100,000 naira per term, a 120% hike. Similarly, the Lagos State government has raised fees for state-owned boarding schools from 35,000 naira to 100,000 naira. Human rights lawyer Femi Falana has condemned the increases, calling them a violation of the Child Rights Act and Lagos State Child Rights Law. He argued that the new fees are unaffordable as they exceed the minimum wage of 70,000 naira, making it impossible for a worker to sponsor even one child. Falana has vowed to challenge the decision in court. Meanwhile, the Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, has revealed that many state governments have failed to access over 45.7 billion naira in matching grants for basic education between 2020 and 2023. Away from that, stakeholders have agreed that the importance of journalists in the society cannot be overemphasized. As the fourth estate of the realm, they help to form a strong foundation in building a better nation. This position was reiterated as members of the Nigeria Union of Journalists in Plateau State marked their 2024 press week. News Central's Chizoba Anyonwe was at the event and now tells us more.
Stakeholders and indeed sons and daughters of Plateau were present at the week-long event by the Nigeria Union of Journalists, Plateau State Council, to mark the 2024 NUJ week with community service, medical outreach, and a colloquium, which was the highlight of the press week. Amidst Nigeria's economic crisis, the quest for good governance was the topic of the colloquium. The guest speaker, Ezekiel Gomos, in his speech at the colloquium, said the only way out of Nigeria's economic crisis remains a curve to transparency in governance, among others.
Accountability, transparency, combating corruption, participation of citizens in governance and development process, legal judicial reforms, and reducing the cost of governance. When we do that, we can get where we want to go. Unless we agree to do that, we'll continue to have crisis in our hands.
Other stakeholders at the event had some words for the men of the pen.
And as a government, we'll continue to synergize with the NUJ to bring the dividends of democracy to Plateau people.
I can therefore say confidently that without journalists, society will not witness the growth that comes with freedom, diversity, morality, peace, and tolerance.
The only advice I offer is that you should be neutral, as many of you have demonstrated. Don't allow yourself to be used by politicians.
To say that Nigerians are going through a most challenging, if not agonizing, economic period is no exaggeration. Feeding is becoming more and more difficult. Transportation, healthcare, school fees, rent have gotten beyond the reach of most citizens. As reporters, I pause here to ask, what is our responsibility in this regard?
A medical outreach was one of the major events of the press week, which was not restricted to members alone. The annual event is set aside to honor and celebrate the strides of journalists in the state, as well as draw attention to various ills they equally pass through in the course of their job. In Jos for News Central, Chizoba Anyonwe.
Nigeria's federal government says that it will create thousands of jobs for youths in the compressed natural gas value chain. This was made known during a two-day youth summit organized by the National Automotive Design and Development Council in collaboration with the Office of the Special Assistant to the President on Youth Initiatives, Monitoring and Delivery. Several senior officials at the summit urged youth across the country to key into the opportunities being created by government. Amadin Uyi reports.
It was a two-day youth summit on harnessing youth potentials and career prospects within the Nigeria automotive sector. The event, organized by the National Automotive Design and Development Council in collaboration with the Office of the Special Assistant to the President on Youth Initiatives, Monitoring and Delivery. The NADDC says that it has commenced an initiative expected to equip young Nigerians with relevant skills so that they can take advantage of opportunities in the compressed natural gas value chain.
We have 250,000 vehicles to be converted annually. That is the target. And if that is the case, it then means that there is a lot of job opportunities in that value chain for young people.
It is not only timely, it is needed, because looking at the number of young people, all we need at this critical point in time is to equip them with the skills, the knowledge, the network, and the resources for them. Many of them have what it takes to excel. All they need is to get that push, to get that support, and with initiatives like this, the narrative is going to be changed, and it's going to be changed for good.
The conversion center in Abuja is already launched by the president, and we're going to have additional conversion center all over the federation. Within this period, when the palliative program will be running under the PCNG initiative, 55,000 conversions are expected to be covered. So now, young people have an opportunity to train on how to take charge of these conversions down to the grassroots.
Senior officials present say the initiative will create immense job opportunities amongst Nigeria's youthful population.
We have 774 local governments, if I'm not mistaken. So if we are able to train at least 10 young people at the local government level to undertake this, we can already imagine the number of jobs we'll be able to create at those levels.
The Minister of State for Youth Development urged Nigerian youths to shun excuses and take advantage of opportunities made available by government.
I've made up my mind, majority of us have made up our mind, that it's all about work, and work. That it is time for the youth of this country to see the government. It is time for the youth of this country to feel the government. And it is time for the youth of this country to touch the government.
The minister also urged youths to trust in government's ability to address their concerns. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
On Thursday, the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu launched the Lagos State Carbon Registry as part of efforts to reduce gas emissions and tackle climate change. The Carbon Registry aims to track and manage the state's carbon emissions, providing a critical tool for mitigating climate change and fostering environmental sustainability. News Central's Bettina Nweli reports.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would say welcome to the future of carbon reporting in Nigeria.
The Lagos Sustainability Summit, convened by the Lagos State Office of Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, Lagos State Safety Commission and the Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, aims to advance the vision of a resilient and sustainable Lagos. The summit seeks to foster partnerships, promote best practices, and explore innovative solutions to ensure environmental quality, public safety, and the well-being of Lagosians.
In 2015, the United Nations member states signed onto the SDGs. It was a collective agreement to say we are going to face these challenges. We are, of course, aware of the resources and the complexities that will come with it. It was a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy peace and prosperity by year 2030.
The unveiling of the carbon registry emerged as a game changer in the fight against climate change, offering industries a transparent mechanism to monitor and offset their carbon emissions while unlocking opportunities to access carbon credits.
Over a course of 5-6 years, or said 9 years, we should have reduced our emissions by 25%. It helps us calculate accurately the amount of emissions people emit or people release into the atmosphere. It helps air pollution. Air pollution is indeed a problem in Lagos. I know almost half of this hall has called us for noise pollution, but air pollution is a real problem.
The Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Dr. Obafemi Hamzat, while representing the governor, noted that partnership and collective responses to climate change, poverty, and inequality will shape the future of Lagos, Nigeria, and the world at large.
As one of the fastest growing cities in the world, Lagos faces unique challenges and extraordinary opportunities. So the question before us is very clear. How do we ensure that our city thrives in the face of rapid urbanization, climate change with various challenges that it brings, and the tendency for financial inequalities? The answer, to our mind, lies in resilience and our ability to adapt and innovate, which is sustainability. In that case, we must all call for long-term solutions that benefit not just today's citizens, but generations to come.
The summit served as a platform for in-depth discussions aimed at driving innovation and collaboration to achieve these sustainability goals. By focusing on these areas, Lagos says it is poised to become a model of sustainable urban development, not just in Nigeria, but also across Africa. In Lagos, for News Central, I'm Bettina Unwili.
Recognizing and rewarding online content creators in Nigeria is crucial for the country's digital economy. Honoring those who produce engaging and innovative content not only celebrates their achievements, but it also fosters a thriving creative ecosystem that benefits society as a whole. This objective informed the Social Media Awards, where the organizers recognized creativity and innovation.
It's important that we recognize the young people who are creating content online, because in doing that, we encourage them to want to do more. So it is also important not just that they are recognized, but that brands also use them for their promotion. That way, we are getting them engaged to ensure that they keep doing the good work they are doing, instead of getting involved into some other nefarious activities out there. I want you to just want them to keep up the efforts. But one thing is certain. For those who are very successful now, they've been at it for a long time. They should not just believe that it will happen overnight. It will take a while. So even if they are not getting the endorsements now, they are not getting making a lot of money on it now, they should keep at it. Over time, they too will be able to make living out of it. And then by so doing, that will also encourage others to want to join them.
It's very important because it encourages younger creators to know that people appreciate what they do and people see them, and getting paid to do what they really know how to do best is the best form of award.
Social media is a very big part of us. Social media helps build your brand identity, and then you can push out, the content that you want to push out to your users, to your followers and so. And it's also a way to even teach people about whatever it is that you do.
Coming up on the news, 11 dead, 180,000 displaced as flood ravages Cameroon's far north. We will tell you more after this short break. Do join us again. The news continues in East Central Africa, where Cameroonian President Paul Biya has allocated about $592,000 for flood relief after rainstorms caused severe flooding across the country's far north region. Minister of Territorial Administration Paul Atanga Inji said the flooding has claimed 11 lives, destroyed 40,000 homes, and displaced 180,000 people. He added that within 48 hours, about 50 trucks loaded with relief materials would be dispatched to the region. In response to the mounting pressure from heavy rains, local authorities had earlier requested urgent aid for flood victims. In August, Cameroon's Meteorological Center warned of continued turbulent weather, predicting that heavy rains and strong winds would persist in the region, which has already experienced devastating downpours.
Les dégâts causés par la pluie, il y a les ustensiles de cuisine. Puisque la pluie nous a surpris dans une heure tardive, les marmites se sont envolées, d'autres sont parties. Les poulets, ils ont pris une direction inconnue. Les moutons et chèvres, tout comme ça, d'autres ont disparu comme ça. Je suis en train de me défendre comme ça. Puisqu'il n'y a pas moyen d'allumer le feu, il faut amener les trucs comme les ganounes, chercher le charbon et puis faire de quoi devant la véranda. Comme vous avez vu comment j'ai mis les sacs bourrés de sable. Donc sinon, il n'y a pas où rester.
Alors nous avons ce matin ce pont qui s'est effondré, qui divise donc ainsi la ville en deux et qui remet encore, avec plus de difficultés encore d'actualité, la situation de la mobilité, non seulement des élèves, mais aussi de l'ensemble des populations qui vont d'un côté comme de l'autre de la ville. Alors les principales mesures déjà prises, c'est de fermer totalement l'accès au pont pour que les uns et les autres ne s'hasardent pas à vouloir utiliser les petites parties qui tiennent encore. Et ensuite, c'est de mettre encore un peu plus l'accent sur les pirogues, mettre un peu plus de pirogues à la disposition des populations pour pouvoir se déplacer.
Now head to East Africa, where South Sudan has announced a 2-year postponement of its much-anticipated elections, extending the transitional period outlined in the peace agreement. Originally slated for December 2024, the elections will now take place in December 2026. The delay is attributed to unfinished tasks crucial for the votes, including drafting a national constitution and unifying the rival forces of President Salva Kiir and Vice President Riek Machar. Cabinet Affairs Minister Martin Elia Lomuro said the decision was based on recommendations from electoral and security bodies. The international community, including the United Nations, has voiced frustration over the delay, citing concerns over funding shortages and lack of operational readiness. Since gaining independence in 2011, South Sudan has faced persistent instability. But now I'll tell you that a United Nations official has highlighted the dire conditions facing women and girls fleeing Sudan's civil war, stating they are stripped of their basic necessities and struggling to find food, water, and safety. Regional Director at the UN Population Fund, Leila Baker, described the situation as one of the ugliest she has ever witnessed. Baker painted a grim picture of overcrowded shelters lacking clean water, food, and medical care. The 16-month conflict between rival generals has claimed tens of thousands of lives and displaced over 10 million people. Speaking from Jordan, Baker recalled meeting a 20-year-old woman in Port Sudan who quietly revealed she had been raped. Baker condemned the chronic underfunding of humanitarian efforts in the region. Still ahead on the news. U.S. President Joe Biden, British Prime Minister Starmer put off missiles decision into Russia. We'll tell you more when we return. Do stay with us. Away from the shores of Africa, we tell you that British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and U.S. President Joe Biden have delayed a decision to let Ukraine fire long-range Western-supplied missiles into Russia, a plan that sparked dire threats from Moscow of a war with NATO. Starmer told reporters at the White House that he had a wide-ranging discussion about strategy with Biden, but it wasn't a meeting about a particular capability. Before the meeting, officials had said Starmer would press Biden to back his plan to send British Storm Shadow missiles to Ukraine to hit deeper inside Russia as allies become increasingly concerned about the battlefield situation.
Well, we had a wide-ranging discussion about strategy in Ukraine, of course, in the Middle East, and other parts of the world. This wasn't a meeting about a particular capability. That wasn't why we got our heads down today. It was to allow ourselves the space, which we took, the time which we took, to have a strategic discussion so that tactical decisions can be seen within the wider strategy. And it was a really good invitation from the President. We've had a very productive, and we've come to a strong position. I'm very pleased that we've had these discussions. Thank you.
Clashes have erupted in the West Bank village of Safa, north of Ramallah. Israeli soldiers fired stun grenades at protesters, including Israeli activists, during a demonstration against alleged land seizure. Local residents accuse settlers of taking over about 500 dunams of their land. The protest turned tense as soldiers tried to disperse the crowd, leading to confrontations. The use of stun grenades has raised concerns about excessive force. The incidents highlight ongoing tensions in the region, with Palestinian locals and Israeli activists united in their opposition to settlement expansion. The situation remains volatile, with further protests expected in the coming days.
Some settlers coming from middle of nowhere. I don't know, they originally from Russia, from America, from Europe, from Ukraine. I have no idea where they coming from. And our roots here, it go deep in the history here. And they coming to take our own houses, our own land. They stop us to get access to get to our own houses. And the army is protecting them. It's just unfair what's happening, but we're not going nowhere. We're going to stay here, protecting our interests in a very civilized way. We are not holding no guns. We are not fighting nobody. We are just coming here to do some peaceful resistance, and we're not going nowhere. They need to know this. We are not going nowhere.
هذا المستوطن ملوش حق فيها انه يجي ياخذ يستولي على ارضنا بقوه السلاح وبدعم من الجيش الاسرائيلي وملوش حق. احنا بنتابع هذا الشيء في المحاكم، والمحاكم ما صرحت له انه يجي يجرف ارضنا بدون وجه حق، واحنا بنمتلك هذه الاراضي باوراق رسميه من سلطه الاراضي الفلسطينيه، ومعنا خراجات قيد من بيت ايل بان ممتلكين هذه الاراضي جميعها، وهم هدفهم استيلاء على هذه الارض اكثر من 500 دنم.
Israeli military use the usually method to repress the protest. They declared all the zone as a closed military zone, but they let the settlers stay, and they're still in this mountain, and they violently push everybody out. They push me with their guns. They throw stone grenades, and just to let the settlers stay in the stolen land.
We talk business now. Economic and financial experts in Nigeria have called for the immediate overhaul of the nation's economic and financial framework to tackle deep-seated structural challenges affecting the nation. The call was made by experts from the Nigerian Economic Summit Group in Abuja and representatives from the nation's Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning ahead of the upcoming Nigeria Economic Summit. News Central's Joshua Imarai has more in this report.
Senior officials of Nigeria's premier economic think tank, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, met with top management of the Federal Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. The event, a pre-conference press briefing ahead of the upcoming 30th edition of the Nigerian Economic Summit in Abuja. Experts at the briefing say that despite the massive pressure facing the nation's economy, massive potential abounds for Nigeria to become a leading force in industrialization in Africa.
In the next 5 years, Nigeria has the potential to become a leading industrializing nation in Africa. We can reform our political, policy, and regulatory systems, unlock local content development, foster subnational economic diversification, and create a globally competitive business environment. The 30th Nigerian Economic Summit offers a platform for exploring these opportunities, and together we can shape Nigeria's future towards shared and sustainable prosperity.
One of the three pillars of the summit is on people, because we want it to run across all summit sessions. What we're discussing is about the people, it's about leadership, it's about institutions.
As you know, the agreement between us and the ministry, the summit is built on evidence. So we brought the maximum analytic capability of the country to bear. You know, researchers from everywhere, all institutions, all reports from practically all types of institutions in Nigeria into the evidence that backs each word.
The Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, represented by a senior official in the ministry, says that the summit will help identify solutions to Nigeria's growth challenges.
The summit will, among others, set an economic policy agenda for a stable and accelerated economic growth underpinned by sustainable and inclusive development. It will also deliberate an actionable framework for transformative political leadership and effective governance that builds the Nigerian state capacity to deliver the dividends of democracy.
The minister, alongside other stakeholders, urged the media to contribute their quota to ensure the summit's success. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
In sports, Super Eagles forward Victor Boniface scored 2 goals and supplied an assist for Bayer Leverkusen in their 4-1 drubbing of Hoffenheim at the Pre-Zero Arena. Boniface set up Martin Torreira for the opening goal in the 17th minute and doubled the lead himself in the 30th minute with a finish from a Granit Xhaka pass. Hoffenheim's Merjim Berisha scored in the 37th minute to make it 2-1, but Florian Wirtz extended Leverkusen's lead with a penalty in the 72nd minute. Boniface added a 4th goal for Leverkusen with a low shot in the 78th minute. Boniface was substituted in the 86th minute with Patrick Schick replacing him to secure the win. In the Premier League, Callum Hudson-Odoi and Nottingham Forest shocked Liverpool 1-0 at Anfield, ending Ancelot's perfect start as Reds manager. Hudson-Odoi, a substitute, scored the decisive goal with a precise shot into the bottom corner beyond Alisson's reach. This marked Forest's first win at Anfield since 1969. Liverpool, who had won their previous 3 matches without conceding, dominated early chances. Luis Diaz hit the post before halftime, and Forest's Matt Sells made crucial saves against Alexis McAllister and nearly fumbled Diaz's shot. Forest became more threatening after the break, with Hudson-Odoi's goal proving decisive. Despite Liverpool's efforts to equalise, they couldn't break through. Forest's victory moves them to 4th in the Premier League, with Liverpool just ahead in the 6th place. In tennis, former world #1 Naomi Osaka has parted ways with coach Wim Fissette. This decision follows her frustration with recent performances and an early exit from the US Open last month. Osaka began working with Fissette in 2020 and they had 2 separate coaching stints together. Fissette rejoined Osaka in January after a return to tennis following the birth of her daughter in July 2023. Despite this, Osaka has only reached the quarterfinals in 2 of 16 tournaments since her return and has not advanced past the 2nd round of a Grand Slam. Osaka expressed gratitude to Fissette on Instagram, noting their successful partnership and wishing him well. Finally, Ferrari's Charles Leclerc claimed pole position for the 4th consecutive year at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, finishing 0.3 of a second ahead of McLaren's Oscar Piastri. McLaren's Lando Norris, a title contender, struggled and qualified 17th. Leclerc, who last won the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, achieved his 26th career pole but has yet to win at this track. Ferrari's Carlos Sainz secured 3rd place with Red Bull's Sergio Perez 4th and Mercedes' George Russell 5th. Max Verstappen, the series leader, qualified 6th in the second Red Bull amid ongoing challenges. Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes was 7th, followed by Fernando Alonso's Aston Martin. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, we'll look at our major stories again. Several students have been trapped as two-story structure collapses in Benin City, Edo State. Oil marketers are set to commence loading of petrol from Dangote refinery next week. We also told you that 11 have died, 180,000 have been displaced as flood ravages communities in Cameroon's far north. You can send your Eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. And you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Evo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.